We've been talking about large numbers, and today we're going to go a little bit further with that, and we're going to talk about how to represent and compare very large numbers. So when representing numbers, there are several things that we want to think about. Probably the most important is that there are actually only 10 digits in our mathematical system, from 0 up to 9. But the order we place these in determines the value of the number. In order to read a number, we must first mentally determine what place it is in. Take a look at this number. Can you read it? If we put a place value chart behind it, it begins to give you a little bit more help. Here are the different place values that we will be working with. In fact, for your FLL project, you might be working with even more than these. Have a look at the 7. What place is that in? The 7 is in the 10,000s place. That means there are actually 70,000. What number is in the 100,000s place? That's right, 4. That means there are 400,000. Read the following number. Can you figure out what that says? I bet you can. That's right, 2,645,987. Can you do it again? This one's a little bit harder, isn't it? Let's make it a little bit easier. Adding in the spaces helps, doesn't it? Can you figure out that number? That's right, 7,832,641. To read the number correctly, we need to know the place of the digits. Spacing helps. It's also important when comparing numbers. Which of these numbers is bigger? It's not immediately obvious, is it? If we put them together, we can figure it out. That's right. 874,534 is clearly the larger number, but it's much easier to see when the numbers are stacked on top of each other and placed right beside each other. Take a look at these numbers. Can you place them on the place value chart? You'll need to copy the place value chart onto your digital device, perhaps take a photo, or onto a piece of paper. We're going to pause and leave these numbers up on the screen so that you can complete the chart. When you're finished, compare it with a neighbor, ensure that you got the same order and the same values. Let's keep going. We've been playing with place value. Can you find the value of the digit 7? Did you say 70? 70 is correct. The 7 is in the tens place. Let's look at the same number. What place is the 3 in? That's right, the 30,000 place. One more. Where's the 9? You got it. 9,000. Now that we've had some practice with comparing numbers and looking at place value, here's an activity that will help you with your FLL project. Please use your devices or the books at the side of the classroom to search out 10 famous natural disasters, or just big ones. When you search those out, I want you to look for the following statistics. Compare each of them on a place value chart. We're looking for the same disasters. For example, if I look up 10 different disasters, I want to put the number of deaths for each of those 10 onto a place value chart. Have a look. Which one had the most? Which one had the fewest? Were they close together? Create a second place value chart and look for the cost of cleanup for those natural disasters. And do a third for the area, preferably in kilometers square, affected. You may need to do quite a bit of research to find these statistics, and it will be much easier to find them if you use famous disasters. Please do search the natural disaster that you will be studying for the first LEGO League competition. You do not have to work with your entire group, but you may choose to work with one or two other people from that team. Now do a little bit of math. Take a couple of those numbers, maybe the death tolls. Do some subtraction, find the differences. How big is the difference between the biggest and the smallest? How big is the difference between the largest death toll and the second largest death toll? Some of these statistics might be helpful for your project later. Maybe find some totals. What was the total area affected by all 10 disasters? Look for any other comparisons you might like to find. Whatever interests you. Even if it's not a statistic that you've found, feel free to go and seek it out. Find a way to represent your findings. Find a way of representing each of the comparisons that would help a reader understand the differences. Think back to what we did with how big is a million, or think of the meter stick comparison that we looked at from the digital text last week. Do you remember how big the difference between a millionaire and a billionaire was? That was really descriptive in figuring out the size of those differences. See if you can find a way to represent some of the differences or totals that you just found. Last of all, share your work. We may not have time for that today, but consider that you will be sharing your work with other team members. Be sure to add these charts and representations to your mission materials. I would suggest going to our Office 365 site and uploading them to the document library or the links section if you've perhaps done your work on EduCreations or another web tool. Any work that we do for things like this can be used for your mission project later on. We don't want to lose the work. If you've used paper and pencil, perhaps put it into your team's blue bin.